What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop. So, story time for you guys really quick. Several months ago, I made a video on the channel called 5 terrible Pokemon theories that actually make perfect sense. That video was actually a lot of fun for me to make personally, and it's one that still stands out in my mind as one of my more enjoyable ones in recent memory, and it actually did really well as well. So I thought I would go ahead today and bring that idea back and talk about 5 more terrible Pokemon theories that once again make perfect sense. If you are new to the channel or you're just wondering what I'm talking about, essentially what I mean by a terrible theory is a theory that is just so outlandish, crazy, wacky, just so unbelievable that you know that there's no way that it's possibly true, but at the same time it actually has evidence to support it that can't really be refuted at the same time. And so that's what I mean. Terrible theories that make perfect sense. And just like with the last video, I've got 5 more of these terribly perfect theories to share with you guys today. A couple I have found around on the internet, a couple I made up myself just for the purpose of this video, and with the purpose of this video, it's just to have fun. I am not trying to purport any of these theories are true. They're not meant to be taken seriously. They're just meant to give you guys a good laugh and just show you guys what kinds of ideas can be thought up in the Pokemon universe and how many of them, no matter how crazy they are, can actually make perfect sense. So without any further ado, this is going to be a fun one, so why don't we go ahead and just get to it. Okay, so the very first theory we're going to be talking about in this video has to do with our main man, Brock. Now, one of the most iconic things about Brock, and one of the things that makes him so iconic in the first place, are his eyes. If you watched the Pokemon anime when it originally debuted, you were probably one of many kids, myself included, that always wondered why Brock never opened his eyes. And then on the very, very rare occasion that he did open his eyes, you probably freaked out, and it was basically like a national event whenever that happened. However, since we have seen him open his eyes on those very rare occasions and know that he is capable of doing so, it begs the question, why for the most part does he always keep his eyes shut? Well, you better hold on to your pants for this one, because according to this theory, the reason why Brock always keeps his eyes closed is because he is essentially the Pokemon world's version of Medusa. Medusa is, of course, a famous character from Greek mythology who is said to be able to turn people to stone if she actually looks them in the eyes, hence why Brock keeps his eyes closed, and it's also why he trains rock-type Pokemon, because you can't really turn something to stone if it's already stone in the first place, and that makes sense considering his Pokemon are the things that Brock seems to spend the most time with as a gym leader. Well, that's one home run theory so far. Isn't the Pokemon world just such a magical place? Alright guys, moving on though, I've got another groundbreaking theory for you, and it once again relates to the anime because it is tackling the idea of Ash and his frustrating agelessness. Everyone and their mom who's a Pokemon fan has joked about the fact that Ash is still 10 years old, even though the series has been running for 20 plus years. And some people have even tried to come up with a canon explanation for this, like the famous Ash coma theory or the just as interesting Ho-Oh eternal happiness theory. However, there is another theory here that attempts to explain Ash's agelessness that might be the most convincing of them all, and that is an Everstone. Yeah, an Everstone is an item that already exists within the Pokemon world that is specifically designed to keep Pokemon from evolving. So, I mean, if it can have that effect on Pokemon, why not people too? This theory suggests that somehow, some way, Ash ended up with an Everstone in his backpack that basically has just kept him 10 years old for 20 plus years and hasn't allowed him to age. And considering the fact that an Everstone kind of just looks like a regular old rock and there's nothing really special about it in terms of its overall appearance, I very well could see Ash mistaking it for just a regular pebble or something like that, not really paying any mind to it, forgetting about the fact that it's there in the first place, and subsequently that has kept him 10 years old for time and all eternity, and I gotta be honest with you, I think I'm gonna go ahead and accept this as my headcanon. Okay, so those two theories are ones that I went out onto the internet and found, and then these next three theories I'm going to be talking about are ones that I actually came up with myself for the purpose of this video. So you guys are going to have to let me know in the comments below just how terribly perfect they are. Or if you prefer perfectly terrible, just let me know how you feel. Anyways though, the first of these three original theories actually presents the idea that the legendary birds of the Kanto region aren't actually from Kanto and are instead from the Johto region. The reason why I say this is first and foremost because Kanto is a region that is actually focused a lot more on technology as opposed to myths and legends. This is part of the reason why Mewtwo, a man-made legendary Pokemon, exists there in the first place, and it's also kind of the reason why there's not a whole lot of legendary Pokemon in this region to begin with. Heck, another one of Kanto's legendary Pokemon, the mythical Pokemon Mew, isn't even technically from Kanto itself, as it says in the original Red and Blue games, as well as their Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes, that Mew was actually first discovered in South America. So we can reasonably exclude Mew from being native to Kanto, and if we can exclude Mew from being native to Kanto, and we assumed that the legendary birds were also not native to Kanto, once again just for the purpose of this theory, that would leave Mewtwo as the only legendary Pokemon who can actually say he's from Kanto, which once again makes a lot of sense considering it's a technology-based region as opposed to a legend-based one. On top of that, their trio master is Lugia, who is from the Johto region, and if we were to put the legendary birds in Johto, that would give us a set of 5 legendary bird-esque creatures with Lugia and Ho-Oh, which would actually make for a nice fit. There's also the fact that the actual legendary trio of Johto, the legendary beasts, weren't even legendary Pokemon to begin with, because they all started as regular old normal Pokemon before they died in the burned tower incident, and then were subsequently revived by Ho-Oh and revived as the legendary beasts. And that only happened like 100 or so years ago, so it makes sense that there could actually be some room for some other legendary Pokemon that were around before these guys were actually legendary. And then the whole thing with the legendary beasts of the Johto region is that they're roaming legendaries, meaning they are legendary Pokemon that just kind of hop around the region and you have to go out and find them, and they're not really in one set location. However, that concept actually makes a whole lot more sense when it comes to birds as opposed to beasts, because obviously birds can fly around and can kind of make their way over long distances much easier than beast, dog, cat-like creatures can. And I know that this is all a video game, but just from a physiological standpoint, birds are definitely going to have the advantage over beasts in that category. Also, another big feature of the Johto-based games Gold and Silver is that you actually get to go to Kanto in the post-game. And what better thing to do as like a post-game adventure than to be able to hunt out the roaming legendary Pokemon of these games? And what better way to demonstrate the fact that these Pokemon are roaming legendaries than by putting them in the second region to show just how far they're able to roam. So that would explain why, even though they're Johto-based Pokemon, they end up in Kanto, because they're actually roaming over to Kanto and were planned to do so in order to give you something to do as the player in this post-game adventure. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are starting to open your eyes to the fact that everything you thought you knew about Pokemon before this moment has been a lie. Well, I am here to spread the truth, as you can probably already tell, so why don't we go ahead and keep spreading some truth. This next one is actually another one that has to do with the legendary beasts, and it's actually the idea that Arcanine, the legendary Pokemon from Generation 1, was actually the original legendary beast. Now, the theory of Arcanine originally being a legendary Pokemon is nothing new, as not only is it categorized as the legendary Pokemon, but in the second episode of the anime, we can actually see it on this big stone tablet-like thing where it sits next to Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, who we all know are, of course, legendary Pokemon. So those two things hand in hand put together a very popular fan theory that Arcanine was originally going to be a legendary Pokemon before it was cut, possibly due to the fact that it didn't fit in with the other bird-based legendaries. So this theory is kind of like the foundation for my own, where yes, originally Arcanine was going to be a legendary Pokemon, but the story did not stop there because eventually it ended up inspiring the legendary trio of Generation 2, and Arcanine being one of the original ideas for a legendary Pokemon is what inspired the theme of the legendary beasts of Generation 2. This makes perfect sense, as not only does Arcanine already have that legendary notoriety, but it is also very beast-like and very similar in overall body style to the legendary beasts of the Johto region. And obviously he is fire type, just like Entei, one of the actual legendary beasts. And it just so happens that Growlithe, Arcanine's pre-evolution, can be found on routes 36 and 37 in the Johto region, which is directly outside, you guessed it, Ecruteak City, which is the home to the legendary beasts. So just to recap that for you, the story goes as follows. Originally, Arcanine was set to be a legendary Pokemon in Generation 1. However, it was deemed that it didn't fit very well with the legendary birds, and so it was cut from consideration for a legendary in that game, but still retained its status as a legendary Pokemon in both its species name and its overall status, hence why it's seen as such in the second episode of the anime. Then, when Generation 2 was set to come along, they revisited some of their ideas for legendary Pokemon from Generation 1, they remembered that they had that idea for Arcanine, a legendary beast, and decided to bring that idea back, and that idea is what ultimately gave us Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. And even though they didn't full-on bring Arcanine back as a legendary Pokemon, they did remember the fact that Arcanine was the basis for this idea, and he was technically the original legendary beast, and so they made his pre-evolution Growlithe available to catch right outside the city where the new legendary beasts call home. I would definitely like to see you guys try and poke a hole in that one, because in my not so humble opinion, that's probably like the greatest Pokemon theory ever. I'm just gonna say it. And last but not least, we have one that's kind of, admittedly, a little bit confusing to explain, but it's also one that's going to blow your mind. And that is the idea that Kanto in the Pokemon world is actually the Kanto of our own real world, and the two locations are one and the exact same. Now, if I've already lost you, let me go ahead and explain what I'm talking about. So obviously the Pokemon world has plenty of locations that are obviously unique to that world. You've obviously got the Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, and Galar regions. But the Kanto region is a bit different because it is the only region within the Pokemon world that shares the same exact name as the place in the real world that it is based on. So while all of those other regions of the Pokemon world are obviously unique to the Pokemon world, I am suggesting that the Kanto region isn't actually just based on Kanto in Japan, but actually is Kanto in Japan, just in the world of Pokemon. That would explain why it is the only region of the Pokemon world that actually shares the name with its inspiration, and it also explains why so many Kanto Pokemon are literally just straight up regular real world animals. Think about it. We've got a seal named Seal, we've got a Dugong named Dugong, we've got a crab Pokemon named Krabby, who is also literally just named Crab in Japanese. And if that wasn't enough for you, we've got a pigeon Pokemon in Pidgeotto, who is literally also just named Pigeon in Japanese. So these are kind of just regular animals, more so than they are Pokemon. There are also several Pokedex entries that come from Kanto-based Pokemon that reference the real actual world, such as Raichu's Pokedex entry mentioning Indian elephants and Parasek's Pokemon Stadium Dex entry mentioning China. There's even Pokemon like our boy Arcanine, whose Pokedex entries mention Chinese legends, and there's also Ponyta, whose Pokedex entries mention locations like the Eiffel Tower in France and Ayers Rock in Australia. So the reason why this supports our theory is because the reason why all of this real-world referencing is going on in the Kanto region and not so much in any other region is because the Kanto region of the Pokemon world is the Kanto region of our real world. The two are one and the same, and one is not an inspiration of the other. They are identical, they are one, and it kind of acts as a bridge between the two worlds, hence why so many things of our own real world are kind of leaking into the Pokemon world, originating out of Kanto. There are also even more things that come out of Kanto that directly reference our real world, such as the fact that Lieutenant Surge is known as the Lightning American. There is a scientist in Silphco that in the original games and Fire Red and Leaf Green, he mentions that there is an international location for Silphco that is located in Russian no man's land, and then as I mentioned earlier, there's the fact that Mew was stated to originally come from South America, all places within our own real world that are specifically mentioned within the Kanto region. While there might be a trickle here or a trickle there of some real-world connection in other regions of the Pokemon world, it does not happen to this degree in the Kanto region. And the reason why it happens to this degree, and the reason why the two regions, both in the Pokemon world and our world, share a name, and that fact is exclusive to this region compared to all the other ones, is because the two are one and the same, and the Kanto region is the bridge between our two worlds. Well, there you have it, everybody. Those were 5 terrible Pokemon theories that actually make perfect sense. Now, I really enjoy coming up with these type of theories because I really don't have to worry about the validity or seriousness of them. I can kind of just make them into whatever I want as long as they kind of make some sort of sense. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and let me know down in the comments below what you thought of these theories. What's your opinion? Do you actually believe it? Do you have another one of your own? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video and you're new, be sure to subscribe for way more new Pokemon content every week. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can do so in a couple different ways. Either you can check me out on Spotify, give some of my Pokemon remixes a listen there, which directly supports the channel here, or if you want to hear me talk more about Pokemon, you can go check out my Pokemon podcast over on the UCast Studios YouTube channel. Link will be in the iCard and in the description, where I talk about different Pokemon related things every single week, and it's a great time. Either one of those ways would be a great way to support the channel if you are interested in doing so. With all that being said though, I will be back on Tuesday with another video, so I hope you guys will hit that notification bell so you can know when it goes live. And with all that being said, I hope you know I love you guys, and I will smell you guys later.